All right, it's time to start talking about surface design. So if you finished your project, it probably doesn't look much like the design you originally envisioned, so it's time to add some things to it to bring that back out. So the one thing you have to do on this project is additive surface design. So I'll show you how to do that. Other things, though, that you have as an option would be things that we've done before. We've done impress texture. We've done some carving, we've done incising, so those are all things that you can use as well as the additive methods. So basically, when we're talking about additive on this one, we're talking about adding slabs to it. So I don't want anybody just adding a full thickness slab on there. It just makes too much clay. So I'll show you how to roll out some different thickness slabs, and you can see that on this one. This one just has one thickness slab throughout, again thinned out a little bit so that it's not just straight from the slab roller. This one you can see has different levels. Again, I wanted this to look like it had different depth to it, so that's why it has different levels of slab. So you know, you may decide this part should feel like it's on top, so this needs to be a thicker slab, and that it feels like it should go behind down here. So this slab actually ramps down from being the tallest to one of the shorter. All right, so I've got my slab made. In your case, you've already got this attached to your project. The next thing I'm going to do is get my design traced onto there. So if I'm careful, lay my paper on here. Again, I don't want to leave it on here too long, and then I'm going to go back over and trace this design. You can use an embossing tool, you can use a ballpoint pen, or you can use a dull pencil. Any of them will do the job, and the idea is it's going to leave me a roadmap on there of where I need to be adding things. After that, you can cut your template up into just the parts that you're adding on, and so you can see this piece came off of there from my extra template. And I'm going to not try to add this all in one shot. I'm going to make it into smaller pieces. So let's talk about rolling out slabs for this project. When we're adding a slab to the top, I don't want you adding a full thickness slab unless you're building up lots of different layers, and for some reason you need one piece to be really popping out more, so you'll have to see me for that. The principle of our slab roller is, here's the wheel, and it's rolling on the edge of the slab roller, and the distance between here and here is what makes this slab one thickness or the other. So if we didn't have a big slab roller, this is what we would use: a rolling pin and these guides. As long as the rolling pin is rolling equally on either side, you'll get a nice flat even slab. So I'm going to start off by rolling out a slab on the big slab roller, just because it makes my life a little easier instead of pushing this out with this slab roller. Next thing I'm going to do is get my piece cut out so that it's about the right size that I want. So there's no need to roll out a huge slab by hand if you don't need one. So I'm going to take just a small piece close to the size that I need, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on rolling out thinner. So we've got two different thicknesses really that you can go down to. So this is about the thickness of our slabs that come off the slab roller, and then we've got these black guides, and then we've got these brown ones right here. So you can see they get thinner and thinner as we go. So I'm going to use the black ones for this piece, and I recommend doing this on a piece of canvas on the wedging table, because otherwise it may stick. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to thin it out using my rolling pin. And you'll know when you get there, because the rolling pin won't rock around anymore. Okay. And a couple other things that you can do to make different types of slabs. We talked about this one here that starts off high and then ends up coming low. We don't always have to have an even slab, so there's a couple ways I can get that. I can stack these unevenly. So if I start with one here and roll my rolling pin like this, I'm going to get basically a ramp. So gets skinnier as we get here. So you can do that. We also have some just little rolling pins that you can use to roll things out if you need to adjust them a little bit. And that's also a good tool, and that's going to help you get that ramp effect even more so. All right, let's talk about how to get this slab attached to here. So if you've ever put a screen protector or a sticker or vinyl, something like that on something, and you get an air bubble in the middle of it, it's very frustrating. If you get an air bubble behind this, it's going to want to blow this piece off. Again, air heats up in the kiln, and it's going to expand, and that will cause that part to blow off. So I'm going to really get heavy with the slipping and scoring and make sure that I don't run the risk of any air bubbles in there. So I'm going to score following my road map that I traced on there. And then I'm going to apply slip. You really want to make sure that the slip you're using doesn't have any big chunks or anything like that in there. If it does, see me, and we'll talk about getting you some fresh slip. And I like to kind of do some little swirls there, make sure it gets in all those little score marks. So I got lots of slip on there and a little bit more than what I think I need. I'll come back and add a little bit extra. Now I'm going to apply this piece onto here. So I'll make sure that I really like where it's at. And again, we talked about that sticker or that vinyl or that screen protector. So I'm going to start by pushing in the middle. And if you're doing it right, you should see that slip squeeze out of there. So I'm going to start by pushing down, get in the middle where I want it. And then working my way to the outside. And that, again, that slip should squeeze out. Working my way from the inside out. And on a thinner piece like this, it's a little easier. When you get on a real wide piece like we see is going to be right in here, it's a little bit more important. So you really get to start in the middle and work your way to the outside, just making sure you take that slip and those air bubbles will come out with it. Obviously, we've got a lot of cleaning up to do here. Unlike all the other things we've done with the slabs, for this, we do not need to Frankenstein it. We do not need to put a coil around it. We just are relying on slipping and scoring, and then you can come back with a rubber tip shaper and clean up any of that extra slip that's hanging out there. And honestly, I prefer to wait like a day to come back and do that, because that slip stiffens up a little bit and is a little bit easier to clean up after it's sat there for a minute. So just a quick refresher on different techniques that we can do. We can obviously smooth things out. Good tools for smoothing would be kidney scraper, your finger, or the rubber tip shapers. We can impress texture, so a variety of tools and materials you can use to create texture that way. You can incise lines and designs with a small loop tool. And then we've talked about additive methods where we can put things straight on top of there. So let's talk about that. We also carved with our pumpkin. So when you think about our options there, we become a little more creative. So I've got this just plain slab on here, but let's say that I wanted to turn this into a teardrop rather than just be kind of a flat teardrop. I can use my loop tool to round those corners out and really just carve this piece that I've added on here. So don't forget, you've got different methods that you can use to create lots of different effects. And that also goes for if you wanted one of these slabs to taper down and get a little bit thinner. This is also an option for that. So you can carve those slabs that you've added on top. or just round the corners out if you wanted them to not have that flat, straight edge along the side. All right, go team.